I'm Arvin Vora, founder of Vora Method, and in this online course, we're going to talk about how to dominate your Ivy admissions interview. We're going to include the two most common types of interviews. The first is the Alumni Interview. That's about a half-hour conversation that you have live with an alumnus from the college that you're trying to get into. That'll be either in person, or more commonly it'll be either on Skype or Zoom. We're also going to talk about how to do a 2-minute pre-record. Brown, UChicago, and a few other colleges have started using them. More and more colleges are likely to start. And that's where you actually do a 2-minute recorded video and send it in directly to the admissions committee as part of your application. We're going to talk about how to do both. But first, let's talk about one of the most common questions that people ask during interview training. People ask this during college interview training. They ask it during job interview training, and we do train people for job interviews here at Vora Method. They also ask it for political candidates, ask this during media interview training, and we do that kind of training here at Vora Method as well. And here's the question. The question is, what matters more, presentation or content? Is it more important to say the right thing or to say something in the right way? What's more important, what you say or how you say it? I'm going to let you make up your mind on that one. I'm going to read to you something, and you decide if you feel inspired. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will be not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. That wasn't inspiring, that was terrible. But it wasn't the content. See, I picked the best content that there is. I picked the I have a dream speech, the most famous speech of all time. There is nothing wrong with the content, but there was everything wrong with the delivery. And because of that, the result was terrible. So when it comes down to what matters more, content or delivery, delivery always matters more. Now in this online course, we're going to talk about both. We're going to show you how to do the content, we're going to show you how to do the delivery, but ultimately the delivery matters more. And that's good news for you. You don't have to worry about saying the right answer, or memorizing your answers, or any of that. This is about how you say it 1,000 times more than what you say. It's the only reason to do a live interview anyway, or a video interview at all, is because you want to be able to get an intuitive sense of the person. And what you do to have a successful interview, what a successful interview does is it influences the interviewer's intuitive sense of you. It's going to be about influencing that person's gut instinct, not really just influencing their rational mind. If it was about that, you'd just write an essay, and you already do that. You'd fill out a form. The only reason to do something live or to do a video is to be able to get an intuitive sense of a person. So let's start with that idea. And I'm going to show you in this video, in this introductory video, 2 techniques to massively improve the intuitive sense the interviewer is going to have of you. It's a common Hollywood cliche that height is associated with power, or that height is associated with excellence. There's a cliche in real life too, for that matter. But let's go ahead and take a look at just a couple of Hollywood clips to see examples of that in Hollywood.
So, you're the commander of Deep Space Nine, and the emissary to the prophets, decorated combat officer, widower, father, mentor, and oh yes, the man who started the war with the Dominion. Somehow I thought you'd be taller.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace.
William Wallace is 7 feet tall.
I thought he'd be taller.
I thought he'd be taller.
I thought he'd be taller.
So what do we see? We see that it's assumed that people who are metaphorically larger than life, who are larger than life because of their personalities, should also be physically taller than normal people. Now, if you're doing a physical in-person interview, there's a little you can do about that. You can wear high heels, you can wear lifts in your shoes, but at most you're really talking about a few inches here and there. But if you're online, and most of your interviews will be online, most of your interviews will be on Skype or Zoom, you can influence that a lot. I'll go ahead and show you an example of what that can look like. So let's take a look over here. What happens if I do this? This, by the way, is what most people look like on Zoom. What happens if I do this? This looks terrible is what happens. This isn't a Harvard interview. This is a nothing interview. This is a nonsense. The taller I get, the more powerful I start to seem until we get to this maximum height. So the first thing I want you to do right now is to tilt your camera to make yourself as tall as possible. This is not about sitting up straight. You can slouch if you want. I'm slouching a bit right now. This is about looking as tall as you can. So if you have a laptop, go ahead and tilt that laptop screen a little forward. If you need to put on a couple of books so you can still see the screen, do that. But you need to tilt that forward so that there's not even a millimeter of space above you. It's okay if your hair goes a bit off the screen. That's totally fine. But you need to make sure that you are as tall as you can possibly be. If you have a Logitech style camera, just go ahead and tilt it down. If you're using a DSLR camera the way I am, go ahead and use whatever methods you're using, your tripod or whatever, and tilt it so that you are at the highest height you can possibly be. You want to make sure there's no way any competitor is ever going to be taller than you. You must be the tallest interviewee that interviewer sees. That's a psychological and subtle influence, but interviews themselves are all about psychological and subtle influences. That's the first thing to do. The second thing, let's talk about audio. Now, I've watched quite a few interviews and even discussed in person with people that do studio mixing for Hollywood films. And when a Hollywood shoot is done, actors usually have two mics. One are the big fancy boom mics that they hold over the boom mic operators hold over the heads of the actors. And the other is the little clip-on lavalier mics, the backup mics, right? And more often than not, the editors end up using the audio from the clip-on lavalier mics. Even they cost like 1/100th as much. Here's why. When it comes to audio, the number one thing you can do to improve your audio quality is to be physically closer to the microphone. That's it. The closer you are to the mic, the better your voice is going to sound. Laptop mics aren't great for that because you're going to be a few feet away from your laptop. Nobody gets up and close like right to, I mean, if you did that, you wouldn't even be visible on video. If you're using a Logitech mic that's built into your camera, if you have a Logitech camera with a mic built in, same problem. The mic is just too far away. To get close enough to the mic, you'd be too close to the camera, and you don't want to do that. So you have a few options. You can get a standing mic like a Yeti or Audio-Technica mic. You can get a gaming style headset, and all of those methods work perfectly well. My preferred method is to use a clip-on lavalier mic, and I'll include a link to the one that I'm using right now. The key with a clip-on lavalier mic, though, is you want to clip it as high as you can. You see I clipped it fairly high on my collar. I don't have it like way down here. I have it pretty high up. And when I'm doing a media interview where I'm wearing a coat and tie, I clip it actually even higher. I mean, I clip it at the top of the collar to get it as close as possible to create the maximum level of resonance and quality of your sound. You don't want to create that sort of tinny, annoying sound because the other person will kind of mentally adjust, but that mentally adjusting is a constant irritant. It's like having just water dripping in some distant tap. It's just an annoying nuisance, and you don't want that to have that associated with your interview. For the love of God, don't use Apple AirPods. They create this horrible tinny sound. It's the worst thing you can do for your interview. Let your competition use the AirPods. What you should do is get a better mic. Now, there's many that'll work. I'm going to include the link to the one that I used. It's a great one. I've used it for media interviews, for teaching online classes, using it right now. It's rugged. You can use it on so many different things. You can plug it into your cell phone even if you want to, if there's a platform that requires you call in with a cell phone. So it really is quite versatile, and it's the one that I recommend, and it's the one that I use. So two things you can do. We're going to get into techniques that are going to take you months and months of practice. I mean, hard work. We're going to get into the hard work of this stuff. But if you do nothing else, if you're saying, I don't want to do any hard work, I just want to do some easy work, do the easy work. Tilt your camera down. Don't just try to sit up straighter. Tilt your camera so there's not even the slightest space above your head. It's okay if your hair goes above the screen. And get a mic that you can move very, very close to your mouth so you get the best sound quality you can get. Now, We're going to talk about a lot of techniques coming up. We're going to talk both about what to say and about how to say it. But if you do nothing else, make yourself tall and sound good, and you're going to improve your chance of looking good, standing out, and getting in.